My mom said I wasn't welcome at my sister's wedding because her fiancé felt uncomfortable, so I let them pay the full price for a harsh lesson they'd always expected me to cover. My name's Nate. I'm 34. If there's one thing I've learned the hard way, it's that being the reliable one in the family comes with a price tag, and not just a financial one. For most of my adult life, I've been the guy they call when the rent is due early, the car one. To start, or someone accidentally spent their utility money on a spontaneous trip to Miami. Like a fool, I'd show up. I'd wire the money. I'd help fix the mess because I thought that's what family did. When my little sister Emily got engaged last year, I was genuinely happy for her. She's 27, bright, creative, and the golden child, even if she's never held a job longer than 6 months, and once said, completely seriously, that bills are a social construct. She met her fiancé Caleb at a mutual friend's party, and within 3 months they were talking wedding venues. My parents were over the moon. My mom gushed about the perfect match, while my dad was already showing Caleb the ropes. On grilling and lawn maintenance, like he was prepping him for a suburban Olympics. Here's where it gets complicated. I offered to help pay for the wedding. Not in a hey I'll chip in sort of way. No, this was a full I've got the venue, catering, and flowers covered kind of offer. I didn't do it for show. I just knew my parents were already strained financially, and Emily had champagne taste on a Capri Sun budget. She cried when I told her, said I was the best big brother ever. Caleb even shook my hand like we just closed $1 million deal. For a moment I felt included, valued, like maybe after all the years of being the family's emotional and financial support beam, they actually saw me. The wedding was planned for early June. By March, deposits had been made, meetings scheduled, and I had invoices piling up to prove I wasn't just tossing cash. I was coordinating, fielding calls, chasing down vendors, all while working a full-time job. Emily, meanwhile, was doing a lot of vision boarding on Pinterest and changing her mind on flower arrangements like she was flipping through radio stations. Caleb? He was mostly just vibing, which is generous considering he once asked me if peonies were a kind of cheese. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text from my mom. Hey Nate, just a heads up. Emily and Caleb think it might be best if you don't come to the wedding. He feels like you being there might make things awkward. I stared at it for a good minute, waiting for the punchline. Nothing. No call, no explanation. Just a little electronic gut punch with a smiley face at the end, like she was telling me they were out of almond milk. I didn't answer right away. I didn't trust myself not to say something I'd regret. So I waited, breathed, reread the message until the words blurred. Finally, I typed back, funny, I was the one paying for awkward. No one replied. That was Thursday. By Friday morning, I'd made my decision. I started with the venue. I'd booked it under my name, paid the deposit. When I called the coordinator and told her the situation, that I was no longer welcome at the event I was paying for, her silence was almost comical. I could tell she was torn between professional neutrality and the very human urge to say, "Are you kidding me? Would you like to cancel the reservation?" she asked gently. "No," I said, "not yet. I'd like to pause everything. Let's hold off on the catering confirmations too. I'll be in touch." Then I called the florist. Same story. The woman on the phone actually gasped. "They uninvited you?" she asked, like I just told her my family replaced me with a golden retriever. "Apparently I'd make it awkward," I said flatly. By Sunday, the group chat was lighting up, not with concern, mind you, but with logistical panic. Emily messaged first, "Hey, so the florist said something about things being on hold. Can you just confirm you're still good for everything?" Caleb's parents are asking. No apology, no explanation, just a casual segue into assuming I'd still be footing the bill like a good little credit card with legs. I didn't answer. Monday, my dad called. That was rare. He's not a talk feelings kind of guy, more the fix it or ignore it type. "Nate," he said with that practiced sigh that made everything sound like my fault. "Look, your sister's under a lot of pressure, and Caleb's just trying to make sure things go smoothly. Maybe you can come to the reception. No hard feelings, right?" "No hard feelings," I repeated, blinking. "I've been planning and paying for this wedding for 6 months. They kicked me off the guest list like I'm the weird coworker they felt obligated to invite. And you want me to just shrug and write the check? Son, don't be dramatic." I hung up. That, apparently, was the spark, because the next day Emily sent a message that read more like a legal notice. "If you're going to be petty about this, just say so. We still need the vendors confirmed. I hope you're not planning to mess everything up over one little misunderstanding." One little misunderstanding. I stared at that phrase like it was in bold neon letters, as if being told I wasn't welcome at the Wedding I was financing was a minor hiccup, like forgetting to please reply or showing up late. So, I made another round of calls. The venue canceled. The deposit, non-refundable, but I didn't care. Catering pulled the plug. Flowers, same deal. Each vendor offered the same mixture of sympathy and disbelief. One of them even said, "You're handling this way better than I would." I wasn't sure I was handling it well at all. My hands were shaking after the last call, not from anger but from hurt, the kind of hurt that bubbles up when you realize the people closest to you don't actually see you. They just see what you can offer. I didn't post anything. I didn't warn them. I let the silence build. And then the real show started. The next morning, my phone buzzed so hard it slid off the counter. Missed calls. Dozens. From Mom, from Emily, from Caleb, even Caleb's mom, whose number I didn't even have saved. I didn't answer any of them, but I did open one message from Emily. It just said, "What did you do?" I stopped being the ATM. I stopped letting people walk over me while smiling and calling it love. But of course, that wasn't how they saw it, because within minutes, the group chat lit up like a bonfire of entitlement. My mom chimed in first, typing like she was giving a press conference. "Nathan, you're making a scene. It's not too late to fix this. Just call the vendors and tell them it was a mistake. We'll still let you attend if you're willing to apologize." Let me attend. Like I was some distant cousin trying to crash the buffet. Then Caleb added, "You're being really immature, man. This is Emily's big day, not about whatever grudge you're nursing. Be an adult." I could feel the heat rising behind my eyes, not from rage, but from that quiet sting of betrayal that sits under your skin and pulses like a bruise. A grudge. I opened the message field, typed out a reply, then deleted it, typed again, deleted again. Nothing felt right, or rather, everything felt too generous. So instead I screenshotted their texts, all of them, and saved them, just in case. Then I went for a walk. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't shout, it whispers. It creeps in slowly, disguising itself as jokes you let slide, jabs you. Pretend didn't sting, expectations you meet even when they're absurd. Then one day, you wake up and realize that somewhere along the way, you stopped being a person to them. You became a resource, a sponsor, background noise. That walk turned into an hour, then two. I sat on a bench near the lake and watched families feed ducks, kids run around chasing bubbles, couples bicker softly over sandwich choices. Life moved on, calmly, differently. For once, I let myself be outside the storm. When I got back home, I had a voicemail from my aunt, the one who always took Emily's side because she's just sensitive. "I don't know what's going on, Nate, but whatever it is, you need to fix it. Your mom's in tears. Emily's a wreck, and the whole family's embarrassed. She's your sister. You don't blow up her wedding over feelings." Feelings. The way they said that word, like it was a dirty thing. Then came the kicker, the text that made something inside me finally snap. It was from Emily. "I shouldn't have to explain why you'd be a bad fit at the wedding. You've always made things about you. This day is supposed to be about love, not tension. Caleb just wants it to be peaceful. If you ever cared about me, you'd do the right thing." I must have read that line 10 times. If you ever cared about me, as if I hadn't spent years stepping in to cover. Her mistakes, picking up the financial slack when she maxed out her cards, letting her crash at my place when she and our parents fought, taking her calls at 3 in the morning when she thought Caleb was cheating. No, she didn't seem to remember that detail while defending his honor now. So I finally responded, just 5 words, "Tell Caleb to pay up." No emoji, no punctuation, just that. The silence afterward was delicious, like a moment of calm before the thunder. I imagined the look on her face reading it, the slow dawning horror of what it meant. Because here's what they hadn't thought through. Everything was in my name, the venue, the food, the flowers, the DJ, even the backup photographer they wanted just in case. They'd let me run the logistics, so they could focus on colors and hashtags. Now they were holding a wedding with no location, no meal, no music, and no centerpieces. But the best part? They'd already printed the invitations, sent out the RSVPs, bragged to everyone about how elegant and Pinterest-worthy the whole thing was going to be. Now, with 2 weeks to go, they were scrambling. Over the next few days, I got messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Cousins, distant relatives. A couple of Emily's friends who used to flirt with me in college before I became just Nate. They all had the same angle, some variation of, "Hey man, what's going on? Heard there's drama. You okay?" Followed by, it is kind of a big deal, the wedding and all. "Think you'll come around?" I didn't reply. Instead, I sat back and watched the digital dominoes fall. Then came the call I'd been waiting for, from my mother. Not a text, not a voicemail, a full, unfiltered call. Her voice was tight, brittle, like glass about to shatter. "Nathan, I don't know what kind of point you think you're making, but this is not how family treats each other." I said nothing. Let the silence stretch. "You're humiliating us." Emily's beside herself. "Do you want her to have a breakdown right before the happiest day of her life?" Still silent. "Nathan, say something." I finally exhaled. "You told me I wasn't invited. That was a misunderstanding. Caleb was—" "You agreed with him." I didn't think you'd take it so personally." And that was it. That one line. Like I was the unreasonable one for not smiling while they erased me from my own generosity. I hung up. 5 minutes later, Caleb tried calling. I didn't answer. Then a text. "We'll pay you back. Just give us time." But time wasn't what they needed. They needed a mirror. And I had every intention of holding it up because what came next? Oh, that was going to be the real wedding surprise. The next few days were pure chaos. Not for me, but for everyone else. I spent most of that week in quiet peace. Going to work, grabbing coffee, hitting the gym, even reading for fun. Something I hadn't done in months, but I kept my phone on, not because I wanted to respond, but because I wanted to see. I wanted to witness what happened when people finally realized the bridge they burned was the one holding up their perfect day. By Thursday, Emily's Instagram went on lockdown. The wedding planner had apparently quit when it became clear they couldn't pay the balance. Caleb's mom started calling around to her friends, begging for any connections. To last-minute venues, which in early June, good luck with that. The only things left were outdoor gardens or restaurants with plastic chairs and sticky menus. Then came the real gem, a group email, a mass message I wasn't supposed to see but got forwarded to me anyway. By my cousin Tori, who was always secretly rooting for me, even though she played nice with the family facade. The subject line, urgent, help save Emily's wedding. The email was a long dramatic plea about how unforeseen issues caused some of the vendors to fall through and how the bride and groom were trying to pull together a miracle with limited funds. It ended with a link to a crowdfunding page titled, Support Emily's Dream, Wedding, and a suggested donation of $250 per guest. I laughed out loud when I saw it. No explanation, no accountability, just digital panhandling with a pretty bow on it. The page raised $90 in the first day, half of that from someone named Caleb's coworker who left early. By Friday, things started unraveling publicly. Caleb's best man posted something vague but sharp. Crazy how some people will build your wedding then blow it up because they weren't the center of attention. Some folks got real villain origin stories. I didn't respond, but Tori did in the comments. She just said, "You mean the guy who paid for everything and then got kicked off the guest list? That villain." 12 likes and one "this you gif." Later, the thread was deleted. That night, my dad finally broke his silence. I came home to a voicemail I had to replay twice, just to fully absorb the audacity. "Nate, this has gone far enough. You've made your point, okay? We get it. But you're punishing everyone, not just Emily. Think about the family. Think about what you're doing to your mother." That line hit me harder than it should have. What you're doing to your mother. As if I hadn't spent the last decade trying to please my mother, as if I hadn't been the one silently fixing things while she praised Emily for every minor adulting task like it was Nobel Prize material. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to that message on repeat. I wanted to scream. Instead, I pulled up the saved screenshots of all the texts, the ones where they told me not to come, where they accused me of being immature, selfish, dramatic, and then I drafted an email, not to them, to everyone else. Every guest invited to the wedding. Tori helped me compile the list. She had access to the invite, as Emily had bragged about, using her as a planning assistant before she got cut out of the final decisions. I spent half the night writing, rewriting, and then finally hit send around 2 in the morning. It wasn't angry. It wasn't vengeful. It was just honest. Subject line, why I won't be at Emily's wedding. The body of the email was straightforward. I explained that I had funded the majority of the event as a gift, only to be told I was no longer welcome because I might make things awkward. I detailed how I had quietly withdrawn my support, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. I made it clear I wasn't asking for sympathy, just clarity. And then I closed it with a single sentence. I hope the wedding goes beautifully, and that next time people remember who was really standing behind the curtain making the show happen. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few polite responses, maybe some unsubscribes. But by noon the next day, my inbox looked like a live chat room. 37 replies. Most of them supportive, a few apologetic, some shocked. 2 guests said they'd be skipping the wedding entirely. One guy, Caleb's cousin, apparently said he wished he'd had the guts to do what I did when his sister pulled something similar years ago. But the best part? Someone forwarded me Emily's reply email. She blasted me, said I was vindictive, bitter, and emotionally manipulative, claimed I was always jealous of her happiness, and that I waited for the perfect moment to ruin her life. She accused me of turning the family against her for attention, and ended the email with, "You've made sure no one will forget you. I hope you're proud." I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because less than 24 hours later Emily's wedding day arrived, and so did something else, something she never saw coming. Emily's wedding day dawned warm and cloudless, picture perfect, at least from the outside. A few of her friends still posted filtered stories early that morning, group selfies, and pastel robes, champagne flutes in hand, captions like she's getting married, and time to celebrate love, with ring and bouquet emojis. But if you looked closely, you'd see the cracks. There were no shots of the venue, no flower arrangements, no beautiful wide-angle tables with place cards and crystal, just close-ups, cropped, tight, desperate. By 10 in the morning, the ceremony location had shifted to a public park on the outskirts of town, the only place they could book with less than 48 hours' notice. No one mentioned that in the captions, of course. But the folding chairs on slightly uneven grass, and the beige pop-up tent Caleb's dad brought from his garage, said plenty. I didn't go. Of course I didn't go. Instead, I got a text from Tori, who did attend, out of loyalty, curiosity, probably both. She didn't say much, just sent a photo with a message. They're calling it an intimate rustic vibe. The DJ's a Bluetooth speaker. I stared at the image for a long while. Emily looked stunning, I'll admit that. Hair flawless, makeup professionally done, dress tailored to perfection. Likely paid for by our parents, who by now were quietly seething under their polite smiles. But what got me wasn't the aesthetics. It was the look in her eyes, tight, shaky, not the glowing joy of a bride surrounded by love, more like someone bracing for impact and pretending they weren't. Later that afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. It turned out to be Caleb. His voice was stiff, controlled, like someone holding a smile in place with sheer force. "Hey man, just wanted to say I regret how everything went down. We should have handled it differently. I think maybe we let some stuff get in our heads that shouldn't have, but, just wanted to say no hard feelings. Hope we can, move past it." I didn't return the call because the truth was, I had already moved past it. I spent that evening with a couple of friends, grilling on the patio, sipping a cold beer, and laughing about something so dumb I don't even remember what it was. What I do remember is how peaceful it felt. How different it was from every family gathering I'd ever attended. No tension, no forced smiles, no waiting for someone to make a snide comment, and someone else to pretend they didn't hear it. Just silence where the noise used to be. But the fallout from that wedding lasted long after the cake had been cut. Or rather, the cupcakes. They picked up last minute from a grocery store after the baker canceled on them for non-payment. 2 days later, my mom showed up at my apartment. I didn't open the door. She knocked for almost 10 minutes. "Nathan, I know you're home. Please, let's talk." Eventually, she gave up and left a note in the mailbox. Folded paper. No envelope. Just 6 words scribbled in her familiar cursive. "This isn't what family does." I almost laughed because that's exactly what family does. Our family, anyway. They push and pull and take and guilt. And when you finally say enough, they act like you're the problem. The next week, I got a call from my father. His voice was harder now. No more fake diplomacy. "You embarrassed your sister. You embarrassed us. You think this was revenge? That's not strength, Nathan. That's spite." He didn't wait for a reply, just hung up. But the thing is, it wasn't spite. If I'd wanted to be cruel, I could have made it much worse. I could have canceled everything the morning of, left them high and dry mid-setup. I could have posted screenshots of the texts, aired their hypocrisy publicly, but I didn't. I gave them weeks of warning. They just never thought the hammer would actually fall. In their minds, I was the one who didn't show up. But really, I'd been showing up for years, cleaning their messes, swallowing my pride, pretending it didn't hurt when they laughed at me, dismissed me, took me for granted. The only thing I didn't show up for was the final act of a show they'd built on my back. And the funny part? That decision sparked a domino effect they never saw coming. A month after the wedding, I got a message from my uncle, my mom's brother. We weren't particularly close, but we'd always been on good terms. His message was short. "Hey, heard what happened. Just wanted to say you were right. That took guts. Hope you're doing well." Then, a week after that, my cousin Jules messaged me out of the blue. She hadn't spoken to Emily in years, some old falling out over a bridesmaid snub. But apparently she'd seen the group email and forwarded it to a few others. Word got around and slowly a few extended family members began to reach out, not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly, respectfully, like they were testing the water. It wasn't validation I needed. It wasn't some long-awaited parade of apologies. But it was a reminder I wasn't crazy, and more importantly, I wasn't alone. As for Emily and Caleb, they went on a mini-moon to a lakeside cabin that looked suspiciously like his cousin's Airbnb listing. Photos were sparse, captions more muted. No grand thank you to our wonderful family posts, no montage videos, just a few awkward selfies and a short post from Emily that read, "Not everything goes according to plan. But at the end of the day, love is all you need, with 2 hearts. Love, and apparently several $1,000s, and a brother willing to be treated like dirt." By the end of the summer, I'd quietly distanced myself from the rest of the family. No more weekend visits, no more birthday gifts. I pulled myself off the emergency contact list for my mom's prescriptions. I shut down the shared Netflix account. When my sister tried to tag me in an old throwback photo with the caption, "At least we used to get along," with a pensive face emoji, I blocked her completely, and it was like a weight lifted off my chest. I finally understood that you don't owe anyone a seat at your table just because you were born in the same house. Blood isn't a debt, kindness isn't a contract, and loyalty isn't slavery. They wanted to erase me from the picture, but they forgot I was the one holding the camera. When I walked away, the whole thing went out of focus. So, yeah, I didn't attend the wedding, but in the end, I didn't miss a thing.